G'day guys, back with the House Circle. Today I want to talk all about the Chronicles of Hate. Now, why am I doing this? Why am I covering the book itself? Well, when I first discovered Hate, I tried to find out more information and basically came up against a brick wall. Everyone who wrote about this graphic novel simply gave it a quick little blurb. They said they liked the artwork, the lack of dialogue may make it difficult to follow, that sort of thing. Now, my good friend Ryan over in the USA managed to team me up with a copy of the graphic novel. And between that and the Art of Hate book from Sam Owen, I've actually become really passionate about the source material. It just ticks all the right boxes for me. Well, I hope you're ready for a story, because today I'm going to give a quick rundown on the book and hopefully inspire some of the same enthusiasm for hate that I have. Now, I'll look at about the first third of the story, and not every frame or every image, but as I talk, I'll show the ones that are relevant to what I'm saying. I'm then going to talk briefly at the end about some of the themes. Now, keep in mind, this isn't about the game to do with hate, this is all about the graphic novel. So sit back, put your feet up, and enjoy. The story begins with a single page introduction, which comprises the majority of the dialogue for the story, believe it or not. They raped their mother, the Earth, and bound her with sorcerous chains. The moon caught fire, the sun froze, in the veins of the world, her lifeblood choked to dust. The ocean boils to miasmas that clotted the skies, rocks fanged up from the stubble of drying forests. As she began to rot, her creatures, her children, survived as best they could, tearing at each other, prowling in her fetid hollows, breeding abominations, feasting on her. Fungi and molds became sentient. And, as the ages passed, some lineages of men grew monstrous, as others diminished, weakened, and became easily their slaves. These higher men fed on the lesser, growing in strength, and hurled their tribes on upon each other in terrible, truceless wars, until one tribe crushed the others into kneeling submission under a lord, nameless save for his title, Tyrant. But though decayed, she was not slain. With the little strength that remained, she seduced Worm, the least, the most abject of those creatures bred for meat. Unlikely saviour, through sorcery and helped unlooked-for allies, Worm followed the thread of his fate to her. If he can free her, her blood will spout into a flood and frenzy of returning life, and her hatred will swell Worm into being her champion, her consort, and her avenger, the Horned God. We then see our first panel of artwork, a maiden, known as the Earth Mother, strolling in a secluded and idyllic forest as satyrs play music. A group of men, armed and clad in furs, walk into frame, and she is captured, chained, and ritually subjected to an implied rape. 3 keys are deliberately shown, held by 3 very different hands. The mother is subdued, and with her subjugation, the earth sickens and dies, as the prologue said. We next meet Worm, the hero of the story, and we discover he's a slave, who spends his days serving the ruling class, the Varn, and he works in a kitchen, where they butcher and cook humans for their overlords to eat. There is a feast going on, and the tyrant, vicious dictator and overlord of the tribes of men, is being shown a map by a Shaktar, a dragon man. The map talks of the mother, and how the tyrant can claim her as his own. The tyrant kills the Shaktar, no longer needing him. Cleaning up the hall after the feast, Worm sees the map still on the table. As he looks on it, the mother appears before him, and he tries to set her free. She vanishes, and he's left holding the map, alone, in the chamber, and tears welling in his eyes as he realizes it was just a dream. That night, Worm decides to run away and free the mother. It is soon discovered that he has stolen the map, and hunting hounds and tribesmen set out in search of him. As he flees through the shattered and ruined vegetation, Worm sees an image of the mother, of her guiding him towards a forest. He then enters into this dark forest, only for a trap to ensnare him, and several individuals emerge from the shadows, ready to kill him. Just then the hunters catch up, and are about to consume Worm. Just as he's about to be killed, the trees come to life and slaughter the hunters. The other men then re-emerge from their hiding spots, and regard Worm with wonder, considering him a good luck charm. One of the mutants, Thump, decides to take Worm home with them. However, sadly, upon returning to their village, they find that it has been raided while they've been gone, and their people killed. Worm comforts Thump over the loss of his mother, and a shaman then emerges from the shadows, beckoning Worm to follow him. Worm consumes psychedelics and receives visions of the journey he must now endure. Meanwhile, the lone survivor of the hunting party returns, and his eyes are pulled from his head in a ritual as a punishment to him, and fed to the crows. The tyrant decides that it's time to take his war to the Shakhtar, and his immense army then issues forth. The crows, which were fed the eyes of the failed hunter, are then dispatched to find Worm. Back in the shaman's hut, Worm is gifted a blade and some seeds. These acorn seeds, when dropped, will sprout into protective trees, and the blade is enchanted, disintegrating enemies it touches. Worm, Thump, and the others then leave on the journey to save Mother. Upon crossing a guarded bridge, a party is spotted and one is killed, causing the others to flee into a nearby forest. Worm is nearly killed, but Thump comes to his rescue, protecting his lucky charm. Worm then drops one of the seeds, which quickly sprouts into a tree and dispatches with the guards. The crow, however, sees all of this and regurgitates an eye. This eye sees all of this, and when consumed by Korvax, the shaman of the tyrant, he too is able to see what the crow has seen, telling the tyrant that Worm is in the east. The party then heads into a dark forest and is separated. Worm is distracted by the crescent moon in the sky, the symbol of the mother. The party, however, is then taken by the zombies of Sarasa, sentient trees and fungi which inhabit the bodies of the dead. Meanwhile, the tyrant has arrived before the city of the Shakhtar, and the dragon men fear the worst as the tyrant begins his siege. In the forest, the party is being consumed one by one by the Sarasa leader, a long-dead Varn. In his hunger, he then seeks to eat Thump. However, Worm heroically charges in, cutting his friend Thump free and striking a blow upon the tree with his enchanted blade, destroying the demigod and enraging the Sarasa. Fleeing the Sarasa, they climb up, into the trees and upon the rocks, and finding a fungus there, they are able to cut the floating fungus free, and the party floats away into the safety of the sky. However, they aren't safe yet, as the tyrant's hunters, dispatched on a dragon, attack the party. Worm manages heroically to land a blow upon the dragon, disintegrating it, and the party lands in the besieged city of the Shakhtar. As they float over the city, they see the battle going on below. Worm and the party are quickly spotted in the city, and the tyrant pledges to kill them all. So, this is about the first third of the story, and I'll say no more overall, as I really want to encourage people to buy and read the story. Now, the themes of hate are interesting to me. Things are always interpreted differently by different people, but I believe that the story is about humanity binding and destroying the earth. Demonstrated in this case by the subjection and rape of the mother at the start, this pure, angelic Gaia sort of figure, with the strong whites and the very few colours used on her representing that sort of purity, that wholesome light that she gives off. And she's not of any one race. There's features of different races in her face. She's sort of mother to us all, which is, the idea behind it. Humanity is able to persist, despite scouring the world in their greed, and the most cruel among us become the most powerful as they selfishly hoard wealth and consume others. Worm is very much the heart of the story, possibly selfless, possibly just a pawn of the mother in her bid for freedom. Worm is subjected to all manner of cruelty in his life, and his life seems to be one of unending suffering and pain. He has no friends, no belongings, just an old bit of cloth as his clothing, and he's a pathetic mutant who'll be eaten when the Varn are done with him. His story is pitiable, and wraps up in a way you don't see coming. Now, for me, my personal favourite character is Thump. There's just something I love about his innocent nature. He's kind in this cruel world, and he does everything he can to protect Worm, being very much the Sam to Worm's Frodo. The Tyrant, on the other hand, is a cruel leader, who only cares about conquest and bloodshed, and he doesn't care about the value of life. You fear and loathe him for it. His henchmen, key among them being Korvax, are also cruel and unlikable, but they're also interesting and unique, with styling that makes them very different to the tribes of fur-clad men around them, who look like the cast of Conan the Barbarian living in the post-apocalyptic world of Mad Max. The quest is really about the little people, the downtrodden, freeing the planet from the bonds imposed upon it by the cruelty of man, and about the return of life. This is all conveyed entirely through art, and maybe a word or two on each page. Sometimes, barely a single sentence every few pages. Hate is truly a work of art, and I honestly think this was a passion project of Adrian Smith's. Every single page is just oozing with detail, and you can obsessively view each and every page over and over, picking out all these little details. The Chronicles of Hate is the best thing I've read in a long time, and I can't recommend it enough. So, that's my little video on the Chronicles of Hate. I hope you get something out of it. Please, you can look at the book online. Any number of subscription services will do it for only a few dollars, and the hardcover of the book, or even the soft cover of the 2-part book, very cheap to buy on Amazon. So, if you love Adrian Smith's artwork, just buy this book. You will absolutely adore it, trust me. It's one of those things where, like old Warhammer Army books, you can just look through it time and time again, picking out all the little things in the back of the frame you never noticed before. It is just a masterpiece for me. Anyway, see you all next time.